Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to DreamWorks Switch to Life. And in today's video, we are going to be reviewing the pilot movie for the Lilo and Stitch TV show, which is simply called Stitch the Movie. Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird name, but anyway, here we are. So for those of you who don't know, Stitch is actually called Experiment 626, and that begs the question, did Jumba create 625 other experiments? Well, this movie answers that question, and it's yes. And we're actually going to see quite a few of them throughout the Lilo and Stitch TV show. And this movie is just the origin of how they all came to planet Earth. So, with all that in mind, let's talk about the movie. So, the movie has some pretty subpar animation, but what do you expect? This was made with the TV show budget compared to the theatrical release or even the direct-to-DVD sequel. Sure, it's not as good as the main movies, but again, the animation is still relatively good, especially considering this was made with a TV show budget. So with that in mind, let's talk about the music. The music is kind of non-existent in this movie. Sure, you got your normal background music, but when it comes to like local Hawaiian themes or even some Elvis songs, that doesn't show up at all. So yeah. As for the voice acting, I thought it was really good, especially considering that they brought back a majority of the voice actors from the original movie, the exceptions being David and Myrtle, who were both replaced for unknown reasons. Probably because they couldn't get David's voice actor on the budget, and Myrtle's voice actor probably hit puberty, so they had to replace her. Now let's talk about the story, which in my opinion is super simple and extremely predictable, but still relatively good. And it's basically like a 3-episode pilot for the TV show. So we're introduced to Captain Gantu from the first movie, who has been retired from his job in the Galactic Federation, and he's having a video call with Dr. Hamsterville, who tells him that he needs to go to Earth and kidnap Jumba. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, Stitch is trying to find his Ohana. He wants to fit in with society, and unfortunately, due to the fact that he's an alien and he still has his destructive tendencies, even though he doesn't mean to, he still causes a bit of chaos and nobody really wants him. And the reason that he's trying to fit in is because Lilo explained that everyone in Hawaii treats each other as cousins, like they're one big Ohana, but apparently he doesn't have an Ohana in Hawaii.
You're one of a kind. Like Frankenstein.
Oh.
So, Nani and David go out on a date. Oh, and speaking of, Nani and David don't really get a lot to do in this. They kind of just disappear for a while, then come back, and then they just take a sideline for all the action. And that's when Captain Gantu attacks the house and nearly destroys the place, and he ends up having a battle against Lilo and Stitch. All the while, Jumba is telling Pleakley to hide a super special machine. And so Jumba is kidnapped along with a special orb that looks kind of like a marble that's marked 625. That's important. Lilo and Stitch give chase in Jumba and Pleakley's spaceship, but unfortunately, Captain Gantu pulls the hyperdrive stunt that Stitch did back in the original movie, and it disables their spaceship and causes Lilo and Stitch to crash land back on planet Earth. So they return home, only to find Pleakley has locked himself inside of a trunk, and he explains that the special machine that he had to hide was really just a special storage compartment for Jumba's 625 experiments who have been dehydrated, and now they look just like marbles with a certain number on them. So Lilo and Stitch decide to try using one of the experiments to rescue Jumba from Captain Gantu, and they think they could use an electric experiment to charge up their ship after it's been depowered thanks to Captain Gantu. But unfortunately, when they let out experiment 621, he escapes and they have to go on a journey to find him. And while all that is happening, Jumba is taken directly to Dr. Hamsterville, who is basically a gerbil.
I am not gerbil-like. I am hamster-like.
Yeah, that's what I said. Anyway, he wants Jumba to show him the other 625 experiments that he commissioned. So apparently, Jumba and Hamsterville used to be partners and they worked together to create evil monstrosities, and now Hamsterville wants his army of evil monstrosities back. Hamsterville keeps trying to threaten Jumba, but, well, Jumba is a tough cookie to crack. And that's when he says, I am going to dehydrate your little experiment 625, and Jumba is crying for mercy, but it turns out to just be a scam because even though experiment 625 has the exact same powers as Stitch, making him virtually indestructible, strong, and capable of evil, all he really does is make sandwiches. Yeah, he's super lazy. Meanwhile, Pleakley is calling pretty much everybody in the known universe in alphabetical order, and eventually he lands on the cell phone. Yeah, it's kind of funny because he ends up calling Jumba Cell, and so Jumba responds, and then Hamsterville gives a bunch of ransoms. He wants the other 624 experiments delivered to him. And, well, there's only 623 in the storage compartment, so Lilo and Stitch really have to find experiment 621. So they go around the city and eventually manage to trap experiment 621, but while they are waiting for Hamsterville to show up, Stitch and 621 realize that they have a lot in common, and eventually Stitch realizes this is his cousin. This is his Ohana. And so Lilo gives him a new name of Sparky, which is nowhere near as creative as Stitch, but here we are. Anyway, so Stitch and Sparky try to rescue the other 623 experiments who have been taken by Pleakley and Cobra Bubbles to the drop point, and they hand over the 623 experiments, but apparently they're missing one, so Hamsterville threatens to kill Jumba, and that's when Lilo, Stitch, and Sparky show up, and they demand that Jumba and the 624 experiments are given to them. But it turns out that this drop point is actually a trap because the Galactic Federation shows up to arrest Dr. Hamsterville, and unfortunately, he manages to escape with the 623 experiments, so Lilo, Stitch, and Sparky all sneak their way on board, and they try to rescue the 623 experiments, so they grab the storage compartment and throw it out the window. Captain Gantu manages to catch it, but the lid opens, and all 623 experiments end up falling down onto planet Earth, mostly in Hawaii, and that's all set up for the TV show, because apparently if a single one of those experiment pods gets wet, it will unleash the experiment upon the planet. While that's happening, Stitch and Lilo are taken captive, at which point Captain Gantu says he's going to put Lilo into an alien zoo where she will be put on display for aliens to see. And, well, Stitch is going to be cut in half so that he can be cloned, and thus Hamsterville can still get his evil army. And, well, Sparky shows up and he manages to make Stitch's cutting machine go haywire, and Stitch manages to escape, and he goes to rescue Lilo, and he gets to the teleportation machine, but unfortunately, he's too late. The machine has teleported.
Lilo!
Stitch? I'm in this one!
Oh. 您干嘛？
Yeah, apparently the first one was actually just a sandwich order from Experiment 625. So Stitch destroys the teleporter, at which point Lilo, Stitch, and Sparky trick Captain Gantu and Experiment 625 to take Captain Gantu's dropship, at which point he ends up crash landing onto planet Earth, and, well, that's where he's gonna be for the entire TV show. And I feel really bad for Captain Gantu because, well, he lost his job and now he's marooned on a planet, and his only source of companionship is a super strong but super lazy alien who is obsessed with making sandwiches. Meanwhile, while we don't really see the fight, it's kind of obvious that Stitch and Sparky would be able to overpower Dr. Hamsterville, so they take him to the Galactic Federation, who arrest him, at which point the Grand Councilwoman assigns Lilo and Stitch to find the other 623 experiments and turn them to good, just like they did with Sparky. In fact, they even go so far as to give Sparky a new home. Turns out that there is a lighthouse that has become too costly to keep running, so with Sparky providing a free energy source, the lighthouse can function freely. And, well, that's how Sparky manages to find a home, and that's how the quest starts. Now, Lilo and Stitch will go around the Earth and try to find the remaining 623 experiments and turn them to good and give them a new home. And that sets up the TV show. And with that, that's the end of my review. Overall, the movie was relatively simple, but it was literally just an origin story to set up the TV show, which we'll see Lilo and Stitch going around Hawaii trying to track down the 623 experiments. Now, if they really had to make a Lilo and Stitch TV show, I'm glad they took the approach that actually made sense, diving into the concept of the other 625 experiments that came before Stitch, which will be really cool. And, well, I'm gonna go watch the TV show now, which unfortunately means that my next Lilo and Stitch review will not be out for a while. So make sure that you subscribe so that you will know when that video does come out eventually. But if you really want to support the channel, be sure to join my membership program by clicking the join button down below in the description. But with all that in mind, what do you guys think of this movie? Is it good or just a normal TV pilot? Be sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comment section, but above all else, make sure that you're staying safe out there, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye bye.
Hey, maybe the Grand Councilwoman will let us go home with her this time. I'll get the wig.